Guys, welcome to another demo. In this demo, I want to show you how to use text and then convert it into what you see right here, which is kind of bubble text. So there's a new component to Illustrator that gets into like these 3D effects, and it's kind of neat. And so I want to introduce this to you in case you want to use it for your logo designs or potentially also for your Dia de los Muertos little designs for the little postcard. So kind of a cool thing. So let's go ahead and get into it. So let's go. So at the top of the screen, you can see just like regular type. If I go into outlines, which is Control Y, you can see the top piece of text there is still black, which means that it's editable text. So if I click on it, hit T from my type tool, I can select things, I can delete them, I can change them into different letters. Whereas down below, you can see the type is outlined, so you only see the outlines. And then at the bottom, you can see it's just an actual like rectangle, which means it's now this vectorized image or effect that no longer is vector artwork. So now it's like it's within the rectangle with all of those 3D effects within it. So it's almost like this live object that's being applied to just the text that was in there. So I'm going to go Control Z and then get out of outlines, which is Control Y. And then I want to show you this whole process. So first thing, how do we get bubble more rounded out? So the first thing you're going to want to do, and I'll probably just build this file with you so you can have your acumen variable concept. This actual typeface is acumen variable concept semi-condensed ultra black. So you should likely have that within the fonts that are available on your computer. If you don't, you could find something that just is thick and kind of bold sans serif typeface. So let's go ahead and move into the next stage. So what I'm going to do is I'll hold Control, or actually I'm going to hold Alt, and I'll click and drag to make a copy of my live text. And then I'm going to do Shift Control O, which will outline, or I can right click on it, and then there will be this option here that says Create Outlines. So I'll click on that, and now if I go into Outlines, you can see that the text is actually outlined. So it's no longer black, which would indicate that it's live type. You can edit it, but now it's actually artwork that has an outline edge to it. Once that's happened, I can then actually move each object independently. So I've gotten my direct selection tool, which is the white arrow. And I'm taking that white arrow, I'm clicking outside, I'm clicking outside the text and selecting the last three letters, B, L, E. I'm then clicking and dragging that and pulling it below, and then I'm going to scale it up. So I'm switching to my selection tool, which is the black arrow. I'm holding Shift, and I'm scaling it out. You'll see these smart guides pop up. When you see that pink line, it's just Illustrator saying like, hey, this sets it to like the same width as the thing up above. So that looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and move it over here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm just gonna get rid of stuff that I don't want here. So goodbye, goodbye. Get rid of this too, goodbye. Now, I'm not going to belabor the point, but one of the fun things about creating bubble text is actually having those round edges. And so if you take your direct selection tool, which is the white arrow, and then you just click on a corner that you want to modify, you can find that little corner widget and you can pull it in, and that'll just round things out. And so I'm just going to do like an extreme rounding on this B just to make it kind of look nice and round. Again, by clicking on just that anchor point, you can modify just that anchor point. And so particularly for things that have sharp corners, I'm going to smooth them out a little bit. round, roundy, roundy, roundy. And I'll just do this last corner of the B just to make it nice and curved out. So let's say that we like that. We've kind of smoothed our type out. The next move is pretty straightforward. So we'll need to give it a color that's something other than black. So in this case, I'll go in here. I'll give it kind of a yellow color. Maybe not something that's super bright, just so I can see where highlights will exist on this object. Then I'll hit OK. And then in order to apply the 3D effect, in this particular case it's the inflate effect, we're going to go to Window, down to 3D and Materials, and then we'll click on that window. This will pop open the 3D and Materials dialog box, and if I click on Object at the top of the screen, you're going to notice there's 4 different options that you can use: Plane, Extrude, Revolve, and Inflate. And so for this case, we're just going to use Inflate. So I'm going to hit that Inflate button. It's going to take 2 or 3 seconds, and it's going to apply this effect to the word. So now you can see like the word looks like it's kind of puckered out. You can see some core shadows actually on the object, and there are no cast shadows presently, which means an object casting a shadow off to the ground or to the side. So I'm not going to really change too much in this setting, but you can see if you mess with depth, it's just going to make the object get a lot more dimensional, so it's kind of like longer. If you add twist to it, it's going to make the background kind of almost like push like this like corkscrew effect onto the type. We'll go ahead and let it watch. So it's almost like this big swirl. I'll move those back to 0. A lot like the image trace effects, you know, if you have like a slight amount or a slight effect to it, the application actually has to illustrate it for you to preview it. So I'm going to put that twist back to 0. We'll see it there. Taper it's going to indicate kind of like if the back is like going like towards a point, which in this case, I don't know, it's kind of cool. And then volume is like how much like the edges like pucker out. So if I go halfway, kind of it's going to flatten the image, make it not look super three-dimensional. So kind of looks more like flat QB letters. So let's say I'm just going to go 100% with volume, just so it makes it nice and bulgy. Wait for that. Looks good. We've also got this option to like either have a hollow cap or have a solid cap letter. So depending again on the desired effects, you can choose between those. In this case, I'm going to do a solid cap. Once you like that, we can move on to our materials. And in this case, we're basically going to leave our materials to the default setting. I'm going to go ahead and show these. So there's our base materials, and these are the Adobe Substance materials. It's kind of cool. You can scroll through these different preset materials and kind of see those effects on your three-dimensional text. Towards the bottom of the screen, though, within the properties portion of the dialog box, the thing I want you to see is this area here, base properties, and it has 2 different things that you can change: the roughness of the object and the metallic feeling. So roughness is kind of like how flat it looks. Maybe it's more like not super reflective. And then metallic, if I click and like bring that value higher, then it just looks like it's more reflective. Lastly, we have lighting. In this case, we're not really going to get too much into lighting, just because I'm not interested in playing with the drop shadows or the cast shadows just because they'll look like they'll fly super far away. So we'll leave this right where it's at. And then you've got this button here at the top right hand corner called Render with Ray Tracing. And this basically gives you the preview of what it actually looks like in its highest resolution. So I'll just click on that. The computer will do a calculation, and then we'll see what this effect actually looks like. So it's working on it. And it takes half a second. You may notice your computer will really bog down when it does this, but here's the effect that we just created. So then, once we like it, we can go ahead and close that window. And there you go. So you've got this object with that 3D effect on it. Now, if you want to actually then use it without having it like be retraced or have it so that it's permanent and you can't modify it anymore, you'll go up to Object and then Expand Appearance. And once that happens, it's going to make that object a little bit more usable, so you can move it around and design with it. The kind of cool things that happens with this as well is you can now have a background that sits behind the object, and you can see all those like transparent places will come through. So it allows you to stick it on top of photographs or other designs that you have, and you can use it as you see fit. What I would say for right now is set the color that you want to use, and then work through the 3D effects. And then if you want to actually change the colors, for right now I would say like go ahead and just recreate the process, just because that'll be an easier way at this point instead of learning how to edit it. So this will be our first basic introduction to making 3D text. Again, if you don't want to round the letters out as I did here, you can just get a heavy sans serif typeface that's bold, and then work through the same process of coloring it, then going to Window, 3D, and Materials, and then working through your Object, Materials, and Lighting on that object, and then finally going Object, Expand Appearance to have it so it's finally locked and no longer editable. And that's it. So that's our basic introduction to creating inflated bubble text. All right, guys, thanks.